It started with my wife's tomatoes. Now a cult is breaking down my door. I lost my wife over a goddamn tomato. It sounds like a joke, I know. But when I see her eyes now, I see nothing behind them. Just a dark, hungry soil. It started at the weekend market. Inez came back with canvas bags full of dirt-caked potatoes and bright green herbs. But the only thing she talked about was a small paper packet of seeds. She said the man who sold them to her wasn't at a proper stall. He was just there, at the edge of the market, with a splintered wooden cart and hands that looked like they were made of roots and earth. He sold her heirloom tomato seeds. He told her they were a special strain, passed down through his family, from a place where the sun burns differently. He warned her, with a grin that didn't reach his eyes, that once you taste them, nothing else satisfies. She planted everything the next day, humming to herself. But the tomato seeds, they were different. The morning after she put them in the soil, a pale green shoot was already there. By evening, it was a stalk. By the second day, it was a bush, thick with leaves and dotted with tiny, hard green baubles. Inez was ecstatic. She treated it like a miracle. That night, she plucked 2 of the fruits. They weren't even ripe, still blushing a pale orange. She sliced them, laid them on a piece of toast with a smear of goat cheese, and took a bite. Her whole body went still. Her fork clattered onto the plate. Her eyelids fluttered, the whites of her eyes showing for a second as a low sound rumbled in her chest, a hum of pure pleasure. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Kaylin, you have to." She finished the first piece in 3 bites, then went back to the plant and picked the rest, even the ones that were still mostly green. She knew about my reflux. She knew tomatoes could leave me clutching my chest for hours, feeling like I'd swallowed hot coals, but she kept pushing a slice toward my mouth, her expression desperate. "Just 1 bite. Please." "You don't understand." I said no. Thank God I said no. The next morning, I came downstairs for my 6 a.m. coffee and glanced out the kitchen window. The tomato bush was heavy with fruit again. Not small, pale ones. These were huge, swollen, and a deep, pulsing crimson. They looked like organs hanging on the vine, so heavy the branches bowed to the ground. I stepped outside, the morning dew cold on my bare feet. I reached out and touched one. The skin was wrong. It was slick, coated in a thin, greasy film of greenish ooze that came away on my fingers. I brought it to my nose and recoiled. It didn't smell like a tomato. It smelled of rust and damp cellar mold. A coppery, foul odor. When I got home from my engineering job that night, the bush was stripped bare. I heard a scraping sound from the shed. I thought it was a possum. I opened the door and found Inez, frantically digging through old terracotta pots. She had more of the seeds in her hand. "What are you doing, honey?" "They're gone," she said, not looking at me. Her voice was flat. "I ate them all. I need more." "Inez, there's no more room in that garden bed. We can barely fit what we have. I'll take the cucumbers out." "But I was looking forward to those. You know I can't eat they're just so good." She cut me off, finally looking up. Her pupils were wide, swallowing the blue of her irises. "I know it hurts your stomach, but you should really try them, Kaylin. They wouldn't hurt you." Her tone was so certain. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a statement of fact. She turned back to her digging, her movements jerky and fast. The next morning it was worse. Where the single bush had been, there were now 4. They had erupted from the soil overnight, already tangled together and laden with those greasy, blood-red fruits. Inez was already outside in her robe, filling a wicker basket. "Their gift," she yelled when she saw me at the window. I just nodded and went to the coffee machine. When I looked back, she was at the fence, talking to Mr. Abernathy from next door. She was handing him a few of the tomatoes over the pickets. The basket in her arms was overflowing, but the plants were still covered. She waved at me when I left for work, a quick flick of her wrist before she turned back to her picking. No kiss. No hug. That wasn't Inez. I had to stay late. A sensor on the main sorting line went haywire, and it took hours to recalibrate. I tried calling her, but it just rang and rang. I got home around 9, exhausted and starving. On late nights, she always saved me a plate of whatever masterpiece she'd cooked. But the kitchen was dark and cold. She was at the table, a mountain of tomatoes and a big salad bowl in front of her. She was just picking them up and eating them like apples, juice running down her chin. "Hey, Han," I said, dropping my keys on the counter. "Good," she mumbled around a mouthful. She didn't look up. I called. "Figured you were busy. Must have missed it." Her voice was empty. "Did you make anything for dinner?" "No. Didn't have time. Didn't have time. Didn't have time." What could she possibly? I bit my tongue. "If you're hungry, have some," she said, gesturing to the bowl with a stained hand. Her face was flushed, her eyes bright and manic. "They're so good, Kaylin. I promised they wouldn't do that to you." They wouldn't. There was a strange intensity to her words, like she was talking about a person, not a fruit. I went upstairs. When she finished the bowl, she went outside for more. I looked out the window and my stomach dropped. The entire vegetable patch was gone. The cucumbers, the zucchini, the peppers, all ripped out. In their place were rows of freshly turned earth. Even her prize-winning rose bushes by the fence were gone, just gone. When she came back in, I tried to ask her about the roses, the ones her grandmother gave her. She just stared through me. "You have to taste them to understand," she said, and then she went back to eating. The next morning, the entire garden was a sea of red. The new plants were all fully grown. It looked like the backyard had bled out. She was at the table again, eating. A well-balanced breakfast, I tried to joke. Her head snapped up, and she gave me a look of such venom it felt like a slap. I grabbed my coffee and retreated outside. Mr. Abernathy was at the fence, chewing on one of the tomatoes. Juice dripped from his chin onto his white undershirt. "Kaylin, morning," he boomed. "Your wife was right. These things are unbelievable. We put the seeds in last night and look at them this morning." He pointed into his own yard. It was torn up, just like ours. "You gotta try one. Inez told me about your stomach, but this is different." He had the same look, that wide-eyed, frantic zeal. My day at work was a blur. All I could think about was the look in their eyes. On the drive home, I saw it everywhere. People in their yards, turning over soil. It's planting season, sure, but this was different. There was a frenzy to it. Everyone had a basket or a bowl of those red, glistening things next to them. When I got home, the Abernathys were in my kitchen, sitting at my table with Inez. I'd known them for 5 years, and they'd never once been inside my house. The three of them were sitting in silence, just eating from a massive pile of tomatoes in the center of the table. They didn't even say hello when I walked in. It was like I was a ghost. "Still holding out, son?" Mr. Abernathy finally said, his voice thick. "Just have a bite. They wouldn't hurt you." He picked one up and shoved it toward my face. The smell hit me like a physical blow, rot and iron, and I could see the shimmering green film on its skin. His fingers were covered in it. I flinched back so hard I knocked a chair over. He just shrugged and bit into it himself, a wet, tearing sound. I looked past them, out the back door. Our entire lawn was gone, tilled. I looked over the fence. The Abernathy's lawn was gone too. I took a step toward the door to get a closer look, and Inez shot up from her chair. She grabbed my arm, her grip shockingly strong. "Don't," she shrieked, her voice cracking. "You'll hurt them." "Jesus Christ, Inez, it's just dirt." She dragged me back inside, her nails digging into my skin. She didn't let go until I was back in the living room. The Abernathys were staring at me, their faces cold and hard, like I'd just blasphemed in church. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of splintering wood. I looked out the window and saw Inez, Mr. Abernathy, and 2 other neighbors I barely knew. They were taking our shed apart with crowbars and hammers. I didn't even put on shoes. I ran downstairs, out into the ruined yard, screaming. "What the hell are you doing?" "That's my shed." My tools. Inez turned to me, a serene smile on her face. "We need more room, for them." "Are you insane? The whole yard is full. Where am I supposed to put everything?" "It's in the basement," she said, her smile vanishing. I stood in front of them, waving my arms, telling them to stop, to get off my property. Their expressions all changed at once, from placid obsession to raw anger. Mr. Abernathy dropped his hammer, walked right up to me, and shoved me hard in the chest. "Get out of the way," he snarled. "You don't understand." They all moved toward me then, a silent, menacing wall, pushing me back, telling me to leave. Ines was one of them, her hand flat against my chest, her face a mask of fury. I stumbled back into the house, my heart hammering against my ribs. I locked the door. That was 4 days ago. I haven't left. I called in sick to work. I tried to drive to the market, but the man with the cart was gone. Every yard I can see from my windows is a field of red. They've torn down fences, patios, swing sets, anything that casts a shadow. When they aren't tending the plants, they gather in my house, my living room. They just sit there eating the tomatoes and whispering. Always the same words, over and over. So good, so delicious. When I walk through the room, their heads all turn in unison, their eyes follow me. I'm in my bedroom now. I've pushed the dresser in front of the door. I can hear them downstairs. But they're not whispering anymore. They're chanting. A low, rhythmic hum. And the smell, God, the smell. It's seeping under the door. That rotten, metallic reek is filling the room. It's so strong I can taste it. They're on the stairs now. I can hear the floorboards creaking under their weight. They're chanting louder. I can make out the words. I can hear Ines's voice above the others, clear and sweet. Kalon, the soil is hungry. It's time to taste.